Hey everybody, welcome back. That's right, it's old Coach Chip, ready to start season 2 of Football Talk with Coach Chip. I took kind of a hiatus from things when football got to rolling, and then since football got over, I've been contemplating and pondering what things I can do, things I can share with you and talk about. And I got several things in mind, but I didn't want to go into it halfway, do everything full speed, do it the best you can do it, be elite, And I've come up with my first episode of season 2 of Football Talk with Coach Chip. Get this thing working right. We're going to talk about severe angle blocking. Give you a little background on severe angle blocking. If you follow me and have watched the season 1, like 30-something episodes, and you've heard a couple of the podcasts I've done and times I'm interviewed, we talk about all the time the 2010 season where we went 1-9. And I've always given it credit for the 2 state championships and all the other successes that we had over there in Lynette, in Alabama, there on the Chattahoochee River, because we built on that and had so many young kids playing. But the severe angle blocking played a major role in that, because let me tell you what happened. We had to go to it. We had to go to severe angle blocking about midway through the season because our line was so young, they were so small, and just to survive. And we instantly, and after that midpoint where we made that decision to change up the offense, tighten up our splits, because people were just killing us because we're trying to do real football, and do things we see on Saturdays and Sundays and we see the bigger high schools doing. We tightened up our splits, changed the offense up a little bit, and instantly we're in every game. We were in every game. And we wound up going 1-4 over the second half of the season, maybe 1-5. I think we may have made the change in week 5, which had been the last 6 games, week 5 through 10. But we were in every game. And I know that we're not into moral victories, but, when you're getting your brains beat in, it's kind of hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel for the kids. You can only tell them so much. Oh, guys, we're getting better. But when they see that score getting closer and you tell them, hey, we're getting better, they can say, yeah, we're getting better. And, of course, we went into believe it or not, those of y'all that hadn't paid attention, the last game of the season, 0-9, and we're able to pull out a win by 3 or 4 touchdowns, and doing severe angle blocking as the basis of our blocking. That was not all we did. We had a few things, and we'd go in and out of, the tighter splits and do some wider splits and things like this as we got better and got some kids back from injuries. But severe angle blocking saved our bacon, and I believe in it. All right, what is severe angle blocking? Well, most guys that practice this believe in a 30-degree down step. What it is, it's a form of down blocking. Some people call it severe angle. A Hotline to Victory, a book written by Woody Hayes back in the late 60s, early 70s. He talks about slam blocking. Other coaches from the 70s and 80s referred to it as slam blocking, and it never went away. It just kind of went out of style in the 80s with the zone blocking and all this kind of stuff. But teams still use it. Some coaches will tell you 30 degrees might not be enough, and it depends on you. It depends on what splits you want to use. It depends on the ability of your line. It depends on on what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, all kind of factors come into that. But 30 degrees, most coaches that practice this severe angle blocking (SAB), okay, will tell you 30 degrees is the starting point, and you go down from there. And I know I've had centers, even when we're not using severe angle blocking on back blocks, I tell them go flat. You can't get more severe than that. You're talking down here, just going flat to get back on a 3-tech or get back on a 2-tech. If you got to block back on a play, like a power right, and you're going to block back left, you got to go all the way back. Go flat so you don't get beat up the field by the D lineman. So there's all kind of different things, and I'm not going to get into techniques like how you do it. If you want to chicken wing it, get that head in front and throw up that chicken wing and get that, Get that good blocking surface right here with your arm and your shoulder pad right here. Okay? If you want to use hands, that's up to you. I'm just going to talk to you about severe angle blocking. So you see, you can go even flatter, go like 20 degrees, and go even flatter down below 15 degrees. Or like I said, you can go all the way down to here. If you got to block back, or you got a guy you got to get all the way back on. Severe angle blocking is a very good idea for teams, especially young teams. You know what I'm talking about, where pretty much all your linemen are the kids who aren't good enough to be running backs or receivers. You know, I'm not talking bad about those kids, but, you know, football to me is a very egalitarian game, equal opportunity game, in the sense, like, if you can't play a lick, if you can't catch a ball, if you can't kick a ball, if you can't throw a ball, and you're physically and mentally tough enough to get down there on the line, regardless of your size, severe angle blocking will give you an opportunity to succeed. You know, and that's what our job is as coaches, is to give kids a chance to succeed. You know, if you think your job is just to win ball games, then you're in the wrong business. You know, your job is to make these kids feel better about themselves at the end of a practice, the end of a game, and the end of a season, that they want to come back and play football. If they're seniors in high school and they're like 190-pound pulling guard in a wing T or a double wing or whatever offense you run, you know, and they have no more eligibility left, and let's face it, 190-pound guards aren't going to any level of college football. But they think about, I can't wait to come back and watch this team play. Okay, when they grow up and have children, they want their sons to play because they had a great experience, and it wasn't about the winning and the losing. Okay, it was about them feeling good about their football experience, and they want their child, their son, to share in that experience. And that's not some kind of feel good, touchy thing. I'm just saying that's our job. Severe angle blocking will give you that opportunity. All right, so here you can see the down blocks right here. These are more like 45 degrees. And what you're trying to do, though, is build a wall. Okay, so you're talking about 30 degrees or less, and you're trying to build a wall. So if there were no linemen here, like you're doing a drill, you put your boards down or your bags down and have them come off the ball, you know, and at a 30-degree angle or less, doing their footwork. Maybe at the end of the board you got a bag for them or a player for them to hit and drive. Teaching them, training them to get on that track. And we're going to get to tracks. It is track blocking, okay? But you're trying to create a wall of people. And no, it's not an accident that my lines are connected here, because you're trying to wall off the defense on the play side. Now, look at it this way. If you're a history buff or a student of the game like I am, and you study and read the old stuff, you've heard of the flying wedge. And no, none of you smart aleck young coaches out there that are friends of mine, I never played in an offense that did the old flying wedge. That was about 4 or 5 years before I started playing. Okay, this was outlawed. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. This is pre-snap, by the way. You know, heck, I think it's a good idea they outlawed the wedge on kickoff return. You know, let's get a running start of 40 yards and just collide into each other. That's brilliant. If these guys, and look, no helmets or anything, and this is why people were dying 115 years ago playing football, and President Roosevelt had to step in. And the NCAA, of course, was created to try to legislate that. And you know, I think it's a good idea. Let's get death out of the game. Good idea. All right, it's an extremely aggressive angle blocking scheme. It's designed, as I mentioned earlier, to cave in the defensive front on the play side. And it looks kind of similar after the snap. Okay, and that's the difference between it and the flying wedge. On the play side, it will look very similar to the old flying wedge from over 100 years ago. All right, 2 advantages of severe angle blocking. It eliminates run-through gaps. You go back and look at the previous picture. There's no run-through gaps for linebackers. You get those quick linebackers. You know, we had one last year, the team we played on our powers, that well coached and good film study. They saw something on film, and that kid, every time that guard would pull, he would hit a run-through gap. We weren't using severe angle. Okay, that was my fault. But and credit to the defensive coordinator on the other team. a big, very athletic, not huge, but good size for small school football linebacker shooting that gap, killing us on powers, which was one of our bread and butter plays. So the severe angle, creating that wall of humanity, which, by the way, every D lineman you collect as you're building that wall and blocking down adds to the wall. Okay, that's more bodies in there. Linebackers nobody can run through a body. Okay, it's physics. Solid can't pass through a solid. So if you make a wall of bodies and you're gathering, it's kind of like a bulldozer pushing dirt. The more they push, the more dirt that gets there, and that dirt is used to push more dirt. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to push everything and collapse it inside. All right, see right here, linebacker can't get through here. So if the linebacker is coached up and he sees this and he steps up, makes his read step, he's going to step up right in that and get caught in the wash, as we like to say on the O-line. Get caught up in the wash. Well, decent linebacker, you got to be a decent linebacker, just somebody with common sense going to say, well, I'm not going to get caught up in that. Right now, he's getting away from his coach and getting less aggressive on his stepping up. And then he's going to play flat and play over the top of the wall that you've created. And look at there. Now he's playing flat. And you say, well, you're not blocking him, coach. No, because this guy's on his track. We'll talk more about that in a moment. I tell you, tracks are coming. This guy right here is on his track, and he comes over the top of that guy. And you say, well, who's going to get him? Well, we're talking power or counter or something like that. And we're going to have somebody on the backside rapping to him or a back leading to him right here. Okay, and if we're running a read play, if nothing else, we're making this joker play flat. And if the running back gets the ball right here, let's say there was a read, we're reading this end, he runs up the field, so the give is there, and we give it right here. Now we get a collision right about in here. Well, if we can create the collision 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and not gain 4, they've got a heck of a linebacker, or you need to find another running back who's going to fall forward for a yard. And last time I checked, 4 yards a play is pretty good on a run play. 3 times 4 is 12. I'm not a mathematician nor the son of a mathematician, but that's pretty good math, and that's a first down in football. So making linebackers either get caught up in the wash over here, or making them play flat over the top of the mesh you're creating right here. And the mass of bodies that you're pushing down in here, and the smaller you are, the lower you got to play to create that mass. And you create a mass right here, and you're running the ball right here and making this joker play over the top. That's good football. All right, what is severe angle blocking? Severe angle blocking does not change based on defensive alignment. This is why it's great, again, for small school football. I don't care if they're all lined up at linebacker like the Steelers have done that. I worked with a D coordinator years ago. We ran a 4-4. And he called it 8 up or 8 down. 8 up or 8 down. And, all 8 of the 4 linebackers and the 4 linemen standing up on 8 up, about 3-4 yards off the ball with different stunts assigned to them. On a snap of the ball, they'd all stunt. Well, if you're doing man blocking, you don't know where the heck you're going. You don't know whether to wind your butt or scratch your watch if you're a lineman. But if you're doing severe angle, you don't give a crap wherever they are, because you're going to get on your track. We're coming to tracks. And you're going to block down at your severe angle, 30 degrees or less, depending on you, coach. You've heard me say it before. It's kind of like cooking, season to taste. All right here, and you're going to get these jokers. Now, you're not going to get all of them, but that's why you got pullers and you got leaders coming through here. Okay, and that's why you're going to kick him, read him, log him. If they come up and do like an 8 down thing, and I'm doing an absurd example, I know that. People don't do this much anymore. But I do think that the guy at Pittsburgh has done it a little bit, LeBeau. If they're all on the line, we don't care. Block down at your angles and get whatever's on your track. So this helps small school ball. And we say, why are you talking about small school ball? Well, I've been in a lot of small school ball in my 35 years, which means you got kids going both ways, which means in 2 hours of practice, the most they're getting on offense is 50 minutes to an hour. Most they're getting on defense is 50 minutes to an hour. When you figure in breaks and you got to work on special teams, and maybe even less than that. All right, so you don't have time to teach all the what-ifs. You don't have time to work on this. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm not crazy about combo blocks on power, not because it's not good football And that's one of the reasons I don't like the zone necessarily in small school ball, because you don't have time to work on all the combos. Because you only have so much time. You know, how expensive is a blocking scheme? This, time expensive I'm talking about. This particular scheme, severe angle blocking, is very inexpensive. And you can do 10, 15 minutes of ID time a day, and eventually you're just spending 5 minutes working on your angles before you go to combo time or big group time or team time. Okay, then you still got 10 minutes of your 15 minutes of ID, if you've got that much, to work on pass blocking or your outside blocking. This stuff's more like your off tackle stuff. Now you can do this from a buck concept too. Now these splits are a little bit wider on the picture than probably what you need, but it depends on how good you are. If you got really good athletic linemen and you're trying to create, widen out the defense and invite those guys to shoot those gaps so you can severe angle their butts down, then you can do that. But then again, you can't dictate. If you're doing it right and you're not recruiting, you can't dictate what shows up to play for you, because you're going to put the best guys back there with the ball in their hand. Okay, the faster guys, and the rest of them wind up on the line. All right, never let anything get inside of you. Stress this, coaches, stress this. Don't let them get inside of you. You work on it to begin with. It's a lot of work because they got to become one on the snap. No matter what your splits are, if you're doing severe angle, those play side linemen have got to become one. And again, I got the lines touching each other for a reason. I want to try to demonstrate the point that they got to become one. They got to become a mass of humanity right here. A three-man mass of humanity. Okay, that way the linebackers get caught up in the wash, or they got to play flat over the top. And never let anything get inside of you. Never chase a second-level defender, a.k.a. a linebacker. Listen here. You ever been to a big city? Okay? You got all the buses. Hey, if you miss one, don't worry about it. There'll be one by in a little bit. Linebackers are like buses. If you miss them, just keep going. Don't turn around and get off your track and go back and chase the linebacker. Coaches, O-line coaches, stress to the kids on severe angle blocking on their down block scheme. They don't have a player. They have a track. And they've got to get on that track and they block whatever's on the track. Okay? Don't chase a linebacker. Do not block out or drive a head-up defender. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do this over the years. Tell you, this wing back's supposed to block down on anything inside of him, and he's been blocking down on the same guy now for 2 quarters. And at halftime, they make an adjustment. Now that guy that was lined up in a non-tech is now outside the wing, and the wing goes out and tries to reach him or drive him out. No, block down. What they're in doesn't matter. Their defense is irrelevant if you're doing severe angle, or what I like to call gap down backer. You're going to block gap down backer. You're going to get on your track and you're going to block down. I don't care what the defense is in. And I've used this absurd example. I said, you come up to the line of scrimmage and your rule is block down. And you look up and there's 11 jokers on defense outside of you. Here's what I tell them. When Jesus comes down, if he comes down out of heaven to rapture the church in that play, before the whistle blows, Jesus better find your happy butt blocking down on air. Now, that's an absurd example, but it's to make the point to the kids. I don't care what the defense is in. Block your butt down. Do not block out. Do not drive a head-up defender. Block down. Okay? The tighter the splits, the tighter the wall you create. Okay? And how tight your splits be? Okay, I heard a coach say this years ago. Okay, I want to say it was Eddie Huth, who was the guy that really started things going for St. Paul's down in Mobile. It's where Mark Barron and A.J. McCarron came from. And he said this. He said, in his opinion, and I think he's right, the further a player is from the ball, the better he has to be as a player. The further the player is from the ball at the snap, the better he has to be as a player. So if you got a player split way out here toward the sideline, you're talking about your Randy Mosses, your Devontae Smiths, okay? And then you start getting them closer inside, and eventually, by the way, you can't get close enough for me. I'm such a terrible athlete, I have to be on the other side of the ball. But right here, and so I've now taken his theory, which I think is fact, and applied it to linemen. The less skill you have at line, the tighter your splits need to be. The less capable your line is. So what I'm saying is, even if your line's not very good, you can do things to put yourself and your kids in a position to succeed by tightening up those splits. There's a reason why we tighten up splits on the goal line and in short yardage, coaches. Come on. Okay? So I think it applies to linemen as well. If you don't have very good guards and tackles, tighten them up to the ball. Tighten them up so they can help each other out. And by all means, consider severe. By the way, there's countless. I had several PowerPoints and some notes that I dug up over the last few weeks. Called a friend of mine, John Ward, the one who introduced me to it years ago. He's up in North Carolina, where he's from, and he's a single wing guy. But the severe angle goes for anything. You can use it in I formation, use it in power bone. I think you can use it in triple option. Use severe angle on your down blocks on triple option and read that edge guy. But there's plenty of resources. What I'm saying, maybe this is kind of a survey course. Okay, I'm not trying to get into all the weeds with you and get into all the specifics. There's plenty of coaches out there, and I found so many things. And I even clicked on some of my links and things, and they're so old they've gone away. But I found others. They're out there. Google severe angle blocking football. All right, the down blocks allow you to isolate and identify the edge player. What I like to call the M-loss, right here. Right here. So you down block this guy. See, now once you down block all this stuff inside and you isolate this guy, like I like to say, put him in a bind, and now he's got to play football. And I like doing that to the best player on the field. You know, you isolate his butt. Now you can kick him, you can log him, or you can read him. Okay? Kick him, log him, read him. It's good football. All right, now you take that kid, best player on the field. They got one of these stud DNs, one of these 3, 4, 5 stars. If he squeezes, you're reading him, disconnect. He runs upfield, give. He runs upfield, you can kick him. If he squeezes, you can log him. Okay, but you're putting him in a bind and putting him in space and giving yourself a chance to succeed. And by doing the severe angle blocking, you can wash everything down and isolate that guy. You know, you can pre-snap, you can know this guy, there's probably a 90% chance is the guy we're going to read. This is the guy we're going to kick. Okay, now I know I said earlier, you don't have a man. But by down blocking, you're leaving him on an island. And that's good stuff. There he is. You know who he is. You know who you're reading. You know who you're kicking. You know who you're logging. All right, the play side should look like a half wedge, like I showed you the picture a while ago of the old flying wedge. Okay, that flying V thing they used to do. Okay, this is what it should look like. Notice they're all together. It's like you just wedge blocking. You do the same thing over here and give that thing right up the middle and let that back, quarterback or fullback, cut off the blocks. Especially if you got ends that love to run up the field you're playing. Shoot. I wedge them to sleep. All right, here's University of Wisconsin, year in and year out for the last 20 years, ever since Barry Alvarez got there. So maybe what was that, late 80s, early 90s. So we're talking like 30 years. For the last 30 years, Wisconsin's had as good a lineman year in and year out as anybody in the country. All right, these are pretty snug splits for Division I football. And they play with pretty good linemen. There's a lot of them. I haven't counted them, but there's a lot of them playing on Sundays over the last 20, 30 years. All right, and to tighten up those splits. By the way, Alvarez was a student of the old school, the Woody Hayes, the Earl Bruces. Okay, he's a Big Ten guy. I think he was known, was a D coordinator at Notre Dame when they won the national championship, and then when he left and went to Wisconsin is when Bob Davie came in. I believe that's right. But he believes in slam blocking and severe angle blocking. And the University of Wisconsin does it on their power schemes, like the Power O. They do it on the counter, the GT counter, their GH or GF counter or GY counter, because they pull everybody. I enjoy it. I set my DVR for all Wisconsin games and then go back and may not even watch them during the season, go back in the wintertime and watch them. You know, that's old coach stuff right there now. That'll light a fire. Wisconsin's line, if you're a line coach, they'll light a fire if your wood's wet. Okay? Now remember, it's track blocking. It's a railroad track. Trains cannot get off their tracks to hit a cow. But if that cow is on their track, somebody's having a hamburger tonight. Okay? You can't stress it enough to the kids. You know, in your drill work, like when you're teaching them to block down on those bags, and run that track. Once they learn how to do it and you get a little bit more into it, have the kid at the end give him a signal and have him just run away. I don't care where he goes. Step up, step back. I don't care. And that's the way you can emphasize to your kids, hey, don't get off your track. And then get it where you got 3 guys blocking down on 3 bags on their severe angle tracks. And you got 3 guys over there at the end. And on the snap, have those guys do kind of like a fire drill thing. Like we used to do when we were kids back in the old days. We'd get to a red light and we'd all jump out and change positions in the car and run around trying to beat the light before it turned green. Okay, have them do that. Do a fire drill. On the snap, just have them disperse and see what your linemen do and stress to them. Say, no, if they chase a guy, say, but coach, that's my man. No, it's not your man. In practice sometimes, have that same guy in the same place for 75% of your reps in practice. And then mess with your line. Move them. Then see what they do. And then teach them. Remember, I'm big on now letting kids mess up to teach them. You learn a lot from mistakes. And those mistakes in practice that you coach up won't get you beat on Friday night. But if you make everything perfect in a game, in practice, and then you get to the game and it's not perfect, you're doing your kids a disservice. Okay, they got to be able to mess up in practice. And so set them up for failure in practice sometimes so you can then teach them. All right, nearly all NFL and college teams, as I said, Wisconsin uses it. Okay, I know several years ago, my old college coach, Chan Gailey, was I forget where he was he was head coach at Tech, he was head coach at Dallas, but he's been OC in Pittsburgh, OC in Miami, OC in Buffalo. He was the only team in the NFL that didn't use zone scheme. He was all gap scheme. They were using track blocking. Now, they were doing a lot of combo blocks at the point of attack, too. Now, we're talking about guys that are getting paid to do it. But he did track blocking, too, because he used a lot of gap scheme, a lot of power scheme. This is the NFL in the not-too-distant past. All right, here's Coach Alvarez. He said the objectives behind this method of blocking, severe angle blocking, are to attack the defense with a gap block play, gap scheme, sometimes with misdirection. There's your GT counter and all that. We force the defense, this is Coach Alvarez talking, we force the defense to defeat gap blocks, blocks coming from an angle, coming from the side. Now you think about it, just common sense. Would you rather take on an opponent coming dead at you or an opponent coming from the side, outflanking you? And I think most generals and military historians will tell you, some of the most successful generals of all time were good at outflanking their opponents. Because getting attacked from the side, you're more susceptible to getting beat. So you want to attack the defense, especially if all things are equal or they're a little better than you. You want to attack them from the side. And there are physics reasons for that. Okay, about moving something. You get a 250-pound man coming hard through that B gap, and you got a 190-pound tackle blocking down on him. He's more likely to displace him horizontally than he is if you put him dead on him head up and said, all right, drive that guy back 3 yards. Come on, man, we can't do that. And you can't control how good your players are physically when they come to you. And you're not going to fix them in one off season. And if you are, please contact me at siegel.chip@gmail.com. That is siegel.chip@gmail.com, because I want to know what you're doing in the weight room. Okay? That all of a sudden you're taking these weak kids and they're strong enough to just line up and maul people across from them. All right, he said we force the defense to defeat gap blocks, blocks from the side, as opposed to zone blocks, which are generally straight on. Okay? And you got your double teams and all that. And zone blocking's good. I'm not saying, dude, I'd love to coach a bunch of 250-plus pounders that I can just get out there and zone block with them all day long. Because if you can zone block, you can do anything. Anyway, thus creating more defined running lanes for the running back. And this is good. You can teach the running back. Because, again, we're not dealing with D1 running backs at the high school level or the junior high level or the rec league level. So now you can give him an aiming point. It's okay, you're going to follow the rump line, as I call it, that line of down blocks. You're going to follow that rump line. Okay, you don't have to look through the line, look through the double team to see where the linebacker is inserting. And again, nothing wrong with that. And I know we see it every Saturday and Sunday on television. But remember, those kids on Saturday were recruited. Okay, even if it's at the D2 level, they were recruited. Okay, and those guys, of course, on Sunday, they're making a living doing it. That's all they do. Okay? And so you dealing with high school kids who have to think about, well, they don't have to think about it, but here's what they think about. Girls, okay? Girls, cars, okay? Eating, girls, studies, girls, okay? You follow where I'm going? All right. Now, you're doing something simple. You're doing something to give them a chance to succeed. And when kids know they have a chance to succeed, they're going to play harder and they're going to play better. Okay? And the thing I like about severe angle blocking, what Coach Alvarez says right here, these blocks are toughness plays. Plays blocked on tracks. Severe angle blocking are toughness plays. Okay? So that's good stuff. Severe angle blocking helps your O-line establish a toughness identity, regardless of their size. You can have a bunch of 180-pounders, at the high school level. And they got a tough mindset. If right here they say, we're tough, and you got 5, 6, 7 of them, depending if you run tight end, 2 tight end, and they're all saying, we're tough. They take pride in moving people sideways. They take pride in frustrating the bigger D linemen by just pushing them sideways just a few feet. And then your back is hitting that rump line of all those down blocks just on the other side. And that lineman's just the other side of that O lineman is the ball. And I can't get to it because there's a mass of humanity between me and the ball. And that linebacker's frustrated because now he's got to play over the top of all that crap. And he gets there, and when he gets there, there's a pulling guard or a pulling tackle or a leading fullback in his lap. It makes it tough on them. And that's your job. Make it tough on the defense. Make it tough on the other guys. It is designed to collapse the defense with blockers in unison, working together, almost shoulder to shoulder. Literally, it could be shoulder to shoulder. I don't mean overlapping like you saw in the picture of that flying wedge. But literally where there's no place to get through there. Just like when you teach a lineman on power to hug those down blocks so a linebacker can't get between the top of the down blocks and underneath the pulling guard. It's the same premise. You want to create a situation where there are no run-throughs. Okay, so it's shoulder to shoulder. If properly executed, it's capable of handling any alignment, stunt or blitz. Because you don't care where they line up. Once you got your kids blocking down in unison and you're creating a mass of humanity, you're creating a wave, okay? I don't care what the defense does. They just got to be flat out better than you and well coached, okay? It, along with the wedge scheme, develops teamwork and camaraderie, sense of togetherness on your O-line. It creates more defined running lanes. As I mentioned, it allows the use of landmarks for the running back. You can tell the running back, this is where the hole's going to be because the line's doing this. The line's doing this. This is where the hole's going to be. Find that line of butts and hug them. Don't go out there hugging the kick out or go out there, or hugging the read. Hug the down blocks, just like we teach guys on the wishbone when they hit that dive play. They're hugging those down blocks. They don't want to get out there and create space between them and the down blocks and get closer to the read, where now the read can play two things. Hug the down blocks. Basic football 101. Angle blocking scheme at a 30-degree angle, at least. Remember that. These are rules of severe angle blocking. 30 degrees at least. And you can go lower. Slide or scoop block on the backside. Okay, to keep people from chasing the play down from behind. No backside leakage. I call it a shoe shine block. We had like a 135-pound tight end one year. He was a freshman. And he beat out like a 190-pound senior. Why? Because he'd get dirty and get down and get funky. Now, the teams figured out, this year we went 1-9. This kid grew up and came back 150, 160-pound wide receiver and was a good one for us. But buddy, that freshman year of his, he got to start last half of the season because when that ball was snapped, he'd go flying down inside doing that shoe shine block. What I mean by that, his face mask is catching the top of those shoelaces of that defensive line. All right, he'd cut a few of them down to begin with, and then they'd start slowing down, looking for him, trying to step over him. Well, I got news for you. You're stepping over a 130-pound dude that's diving at your ankles, and it's legal because you do it right on the snap, okay? You ain't playing football. If you're dodging blocks, I got a rule I tell my guys on the perimeter, on the jet scheme. If they dancing, they ain't tackling. It's the same thing. If you're making them step over you, he's got to be good now. Those D linemen got to be good to step over those guys. You could throw a dummy down there at them. It's the same thing. They got to dodge it. or they're going to get knocked down. So I call that a shoe shine block, getting that face mask coming down, woo, right there across the line. All right. Exploding off the line of scrimmage, just like anything, is key. We're not taking reach steps, not taking bucket steps, not taking reach steps, anything like that. That ball snap, we're going. Always, we're going to the left, step with that left foot. We're going to the right, step with that right foot. And you're screaming your fanny down through there on your track. And then sound engagement, and that's what y'all got to do. Y'all got to figure out how you want to do it, chicken wing it, use hands, whatever it is you're going to do. And good footwork. Have a good wide base. That's why you do it on the bags or on the boards. And chopping those feet like a meat grinder, man. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Okay? And you can use it with or without pulling, trapping, or kicking. You can use it on a read. Okay? All right, advantages. It's easy to understand for the kids. Okay? And once you figure it out, it's easy for you to figure out who you're missing. You'll know where the leakage is coming from. Simple to teach. Simple to teach. It's perfect for rec league football, junior high football, small school, high school football. Simple to implement, easy to put in. So, hey, I told you, we did it mid-season and instantly were competitive in every game for the last 6 games of the season. We got beat by 3 touchdowns in one game, and at that point, I'll never forget it. And we had 4 of them. We had 4 touchdowns called back. Okay, which were questionable. They're always questionable, aren't they? Okay. Simple to execute, simple to adjust. And you may have to adjust it. Sometimes you may have to reduce your angle. Sometimes you have to increase your angle. Sometimes defenses get real soft and they wait to see what you're going to do. Perfect. Just adjust with your kids. Tell them. I'm going to tell you another thing you do too. You don't have to be as good on the line, so you can take your better lineman, play them on defense, and take a lesser lineman, play him on offense as long as he's got the mindset to get dirty with it, to get nasty, have an attitude. And see, when he comes off the field, you can take, he said, what are they doing? He said, Coach, they're waiting, they're reading us and all this kind of stuff. Well, increase your angle a little bit. Catch him where he is. Okay? There's all kind of things you can do. It's simple to adjust. Allows your blockers to be aggressive because they know what they're doing, because they don't give a crap what the defense is doing. Usually. They're on their track, the track that you've been teaching them since practice started. It gives your linemen a force advantage because they're coming from the side. Striking at an angle is a plus. I'm going to show you some math in a minute. I don't necessarily understand it, but I've seen it work. I can tell you this. I'm on this computer right now, and I don't understand it, and I can't fix it, and I can't build it. But I can operate it. Okay, so I'm going to show you some math in a minute. Striking at an angle is a plus. And again, I've already said it builds unity on the line. Unity is a good thing. All right, why are angles useful? Angles are useful in daily life. Everything is better with angles. You know, those of y'all that know me know for 35 years I've been teaching history. And most of that involved world history, and I love the Enlightenment. Baron de Montesquieu of France, the guy that came up with separation of powers and checks and balances, 3 branches of government, he said if the shapes had a god, the god would be a triangle. Would be a triangle. Because he knew that triangles were superior because of angles. Because of angles. 3 angles. Engineers use angles. Architects use angles when they're building roads, bridges, buildings, all these big new stadiums we have. Angles everywhere. Athletes use angles to enhance their performance. Watch a judo match. Okay, it's all about using the other person's momentum and using angles that a smaller person can flip a bigger person. And of course, carpenters use angles when they're building houses, building furniture. Angles. When that guy's coming and you're coming from the side, you don't have to be physically superior to him to move him, what I like to say, displace him a little bit sideways. Horizontal movement is as good as vertical movement. Because sometimes you don't have the dudes to line up and hit somebody in the mouth and drive them back. You know, we'll do that toughness drill where we get on the boards and we know the old root hog and get in there because they got to know how to, to drive. And I got an opinion on that. Even a down block, a severe angle block, a block at an angle, once contact is made, it's a drive block. All run blocks become drive blocks. That's why it's good practice to me on a sled. That's why it's good practice on the boards driving each other. Because even a down block is a drive block. Once you make contact, you just try and drive him sideways. Even a kick on a power or a counter, once contact is made, is a drive block. Even a wrap around on a power, once you make contact with that linebacker, boom, now it's a drive block. Okay, and we'll talk more about that in another episode about what we can do to turn those kind of blocks into drive blocks, and that way you can benefit every time you put hands on another player and drive him until the whistle blows, until the echo of the whistle. Okay, that drive blocks, practicing drive blocks is useful no matter what type of offense you run, unless all you do is throw the ball. But heck, I even teach them sometimes. I said, if a guy beats you inside on a pass rush, just lock onto him and drive him. Boom, pass block, just became a drive block. All blocks eventually become drive blocks to some degree. Okay, it's all about leverage, and I don't know about fulcrums and levers and all that, but I do know this. I've seen a teeter-totter. Okay, leverage, baby. All right, striking an opponent. Here's the math. At an angle gives the blocker a 1.5 times to 3 times more force that they can take advantage of depending on the angle of attack. So you're talking about increasing 150 to 300% by using angles. Now, how does that sound to you, Coach? You got a 190-pound guard. You got an undersized line. Right now you're getting ready to go into spring training, and you've lost all your big linemen, and you're going to come in there and play with a bunch of little guys. The guys that last year were just bus riders and chicken eaters. Okay? You know, we've had them in the weight room, but I'm going to tell you what, dude, you're not going to make a 150-pound guy into Tony Mandarich in one off season. If you put 30 pounds on him, you're a weightlifting guru. A 180-pound O-lineman has a much better shot at horizontally, sideways, displacing a 250-pound lineman than of knocking him backwards vertically if he uses smart angles. You're just not going to knock him back. He's just not. It don't matter, 250-pound guy can't play. 250 pounds is 250 pounds. Move him sideways. Nothing wrong with that. It's all about leverage. That's why I love severe angle blocking, especially for undersized line. Again, if you're one of these guys and you're up there at some 6A, 7A and you're running zone scheme and you got these big old linemen that look like what D2 was back when I played, more power to you. You should turn this off a long time ago. I'm going to tell you this, Hoss, you can't ever guarantee where you're coaching, and you can't guarantee what walks out on the field that first day of practice. The more radical the angle, the more net force that is generated. A 45-degree down block generates 1.5 to 2 times the net force. A 30-degree down block generates even more, 2 times more, 2.5 times more net force. And then a trap or a kick-out block can generate 2.5 to 3 times the net force. So you can see that angles are wonderful things. In closing, severe angle blocking is track blocking, not man blocking. Get that out of your system. Get that out of your kid's system. You know, they may be coming to you at the junior high or the high school level, and wherever they were in rec league or whatever, they were just told, block the man on your head. Again, I remember when I played, we had a rule that said head up to inside. 90% of our run game was head up to inside. I mean, if the man was head up you block him. No man head up you block down. It's simple. It's effective. You're talking about young guys. And remember now, you're talking about some of these coaches at the rec league level. I mean, they're working for a living. They're a banker. They're a carpenter. Okay? They're not thinking about football most of the time like high school coaches. They got to feed the family by doing something else. So they're going to do something simple. Now, here's what I'm saying to you rec league coaches, you Pee Wee League coaches. Study severe angle blocking. You're going to help those kids. Okay? And now when you line up against those teams that are superior to you physically, you don't have to worry about being able to drive them off the ball because you're blocking down. Okay? All right, it gives smaller linemen a chance at success. That's what coaching is, giving kids a chance on the football field and in life. All right, it limits run-through lanes for the defense because you got that mass of humanity again. It picks up line stunts because every gap is covered. Because you're so tight to each other, when you come down, every gap is covered. It forces linebackers to overreact, making them susceptible, more likely to misdirection. Because now they know they got to get there. And so if you're running misdirection, they may take a step one way. When they come back, the wall's there. And they get lost and they get washed in. They get lost in that wave. Okay, it's kind of like you're at the beach and you turn around and boom, it hits you. You just disappear into the wave. And that's what you can do to these linebackers. Linebackers must scrape high over the wall to get around it. The wall that you've created with this severe angle blocking. And it allows you to isolate the end man on the line of scrimmage. The M-loss. You isolate him for a kick, a log, or a read. So you can see that severe angle blocking, I mean, it's not the end-all be-all. I'm not going to sit here and tell you everybody ought to be doing it. But I'm telling you, if year in and year out, you can't control what's coming to you, it's a good thing. We did it with those kids. We weren't very good. Heck, by the time they were older, we went to the third round with that bunch. 2 and 3 years later, going to the playoffs and starting our run over in Lynette. We kept doing it. Even when I had a 265-pound 3-star that signed with Jack State that turned down some smaller D1s because he wanted to stay closer to home, one of the best, maybe the best lineman I've ever coached, we still did it. Now, I implemented some other things because we had a big line that year, but I wasn't going to get away from my down blocking because I knew when those kids graduated, I couldn't control what was there. And sure enough, after they were all gone, we were back to being smallish and young again, and that team, and we developed them, and that was the team that won the 2 state titles. But this is the basis of what we did because we're a small school, and we couldn't control what was coming to us. We can't control genetics. 2 small parents are going to make a small kid. Okay? The genes are undefeated, y'all. All right? So I'm just saying, keep doing this stuff. Year in and year out. And you can adapt when you can. Okay? You can adjust. But keep this as the basis of what you're doing, and you'll be prepared, giving your every year, regardless of what you got, and give yourselves the best chance of success, which is what your job is, Coach. Your job is to give those kids a chance to succeed. Okay? Let me do this right here. There you go. I was over there with a postage stamp, wasn't I? All right, this has been Season 2, Episode 1. Football Talk with Coach Chip, Severe Angle Blocking. It's a good thing. Google it. There's plenty more resources out there. And find out what you can do. You're going into spring training, and you're going into your off season, and you're getting ready for another season. Let's hope we don't have to do all the craziness we had to do. Not that it was crazy, but it's craziness. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right. Looks like it's right around the corner, y'all. I got my first shot right here where my flag. Oh, there. No, here. It's reversed in the thing. I got my first shot. Next one's coming up real soon. Okay? And by the way, it didn't hurt a lick. If those of y'all think they inserted a chip in Coach Chip, nah, there's no side effects. But I will say, though, at the end of after that first shot, I went for a 6-mile run. And when I got back to the house, I had an email from Bill Gates saying, dang, Coach, that was a good run you had. That wasn't no chip there. So, no chips and chip. All right. I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic. Don't be offended. All right. We're going to do some more. Coming back. We'll do another one in a week or so, maybe even less. I just do them when they strike me. Hey, be safe. Be careful. Be good to somebody. Why not? Don't cost anything. And as always, hey, y'all, be elite.